Hello, reader and friend of all things Outlander. Did you know the story of Outlander wants to release you to go home well? I'm Jenny from Jenny Wells Reads, and I long to return home well too. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am here every Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time to talk with you all things Outlander, because just like you, Outlander has changed my life. What do I mean by that? Well, we have the fan communities, we have the events, we have all the ways we get to follow people, including the stars and the creators of our show and our beloved Diana Gabaldon, who wrote the books online, which is so great. I have seen so many of you do incredible handiwork that is Outlander themed, and that is not what I am good at. But what I do love to talk about is how Outlander changes us and has changed us and can change us from the inside out, because I believe that discovering a good story helps us live a good story. So when you talk about how Outlander has changed your life, and when I talk about it, let's talk about what's happening inside of us and how that can affect us in our day-to-day life. Because I know a lot of us, we watch the show over and over. We may or may not be able to share it with our loved ones. I know in my house, the 20 and 22-year-old sons love to tease me, but I don't care, because I love the show and the books so much. But I want to take it a step further today. I want to get specific with you. So last week, I talked about how Outlander releases us to a strong sense of place. And I was focusing specifically on episode 9 of season 1, the part of the story in the books and the show when Claire and Jamie return to Castle Lallybroch for the first time after they get married. And Jamie especially goes through quite a process in that episode of really, understanding his sense of place and his connection to the land. But in episode 12 of season 1, he gets to take Claire back to Lallybroch for the first time, his family home. And so that is what I will be focusing on today. And what does it mean to return home well? And if you remember, I'm going to be speaking specifically from the show. It's a really fun episode. I really like it. There's a lot that's happening in this episode. We get to meet Jenny and Ian for the first time. And besides my love for Jamie and Claire, Jenny is my most favorite character. So we get to meet them. We get to experience Jamie as the Laird of Lallybroch and him stepping into that role and all that's happening. That episode has my favorite costume in it that I personally wouldn't wear because, I always want to pick one of Claire's beautiful dresses. Thank you, Terry Dreschbaugh. But that leather coat of Jamie's father just looks fabulous on Sam Heughan, on Jamie Fraser. Love, love, love that coat. So let's talk a little bit more in depth about what's happening in that episode. So anytime we have to return home, what do I mean? Home of our childhood, home of a place we've moved away from, home to where we first went to college, home to where we first fell in love with our life partner. We tell ourselves stories. And if we've been gone for a long time, we've told ourselves these stories over and over again, and we take them back when we return home. And that's exactly what happens to Jamie in this episode. So he returns home, and the last time he was there, was it the last time he was there? Anyway, the last time that he was there, it's been 4 years. We know that is when Black Jack molests Jenny. And he has heard a rumor that she you know, mothered Blackjack's child as a result of this. And so he is remembering all of this. He remembers getting whipped in, the archway, our beautiful, famous archway at Castle, at Lallybroch. So anyway, there's a lot going on, and he has a lot of ghosts that he has to face to return. And we see, him and Jenny's relationship thrashing this out from beginning to end, from when he meets young Jamie and thinks it's Blackjack's child and accuses her of things, to the very end when they are at his father, him and Jenny's father's grave, and how they have to, that scene where Laura Donnelly talks about her sense of guilt, right? About Jamie getting flogged, and she sees the scars on his back, and she, blamed him a little bit for their father's death, and just the way that she just is able to unload that story, right, that she's been carrying, and just the reconciliation that her and Jamie have, just in love and acceptance of one another, and being able to come to a place in their own life where it's like, you know what, the only person responsible for our father's death is Blackjack. It's not me, it's not you. And the irony of that is that, Blackjack hasn't given Brian Fraser another thought, right? But Jamie and Jenny are the ones who carry this weight and this burden, and they're finally able to lay it down. So when we return home, whatever that home might be, we're telling ourselves stories, right? And so what's the story that you tell yourself when you're going to return home? And I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. So, in that scene too, in that episode too, which, okay, there's just so much delight in this episode, right? Jamie showing up in his bedchamber drunk. It's hilarious, right? It is hilarious the way he talks to Claire. And, even Claire just smiles and falls back asleep. He is trying to figure out how to be Lord Broch to Rock, right? And he has, this way that he's embodying it, right? And Claire's the one who has to say, you're acting like an idiot. Okay, your dad would give you a thrashing if he was here. There's a lot happening, right? We get to experience Jamie trying to, he does fix the mill in the famous scene where we get to see Sam Heughan in all his glory, except for his hand in front of his parts. Super fun, tons of memes all about that. But, who is Jamie as the Lord, right? Ian and Jenny have been doing this work for 4 years, at least, right? Yeah, 4 years. And so, there's just a lot happening, as Jamie kind of, what's that word, jockeys for his position there. So, Jamie, he has to face himself. And the irony is that, by the end of the episode, the watch is there. Jamie has a gun to his head, and we know that he is going to leave with that leader of the watch and really never really return. He will never be Lord Broch to Roch. I hope I'm saying that okay. Sorry, I'm Irish, not Scottish. So, if you have any thoughts about this, I would love to hear. And if you are here and listening, thumbs up are so great. They're so just encouraging to those of us that get on Facebook Live. If you have a fan group that you'd like to share this with, that would be awesome. So let's bring this home. How might you need to return home well. And again, home can be lots of things. It can be the place of your childhood. It can be where you met the love of your life and are returning back, whether you still have them in your life or not. There's lots of places that we return in our lives that have very strong memories for us. And there's stories that we've told ourselves while we've been away. And then we have to come back and return for whatever reason. And it's very rare that things are the way that we expected them to be. I'm just going to share with you a little bit about how I have taken this theme personally, and I want you to remember too, but that these stories are your stories, and these stories are my stories, and the way that I would interpret them is not necessarily the way you would interpret them. So I am really wanting to hear from you about, you know, how you do interpret some of the deeper themes, particularly in this part of our story of Outlander. But for me, you know, as I was thinking this week about what it means to return home well, you know, I thought about it more as a parent. So I have a year into an empty nest, and I'm a year into an empty nest that I did not expect because my daughter left home 2 years earlier than I expected her to. So all three of my children, my two sons and my daughter, are not at home. And, you know, the holidays are coming. And the thing about young adults is that they're, you know, they kind of, if they're healthy, they're doing their own thing, right? And they have different ways of wanting to return home. And, you know, I don't know what kinds of stories that they tell themselves about what it could mean to return home. I have a feeling it's different for all three of them. And as a mom who's really sensitive to the way my children feel, you know, I wish I could control that story. I really wish I could control that story, because as a mom, I just want them to come home. I just want them to want to be with me. I just want them to want to be with each other. And, you know, yet I know that you can't live, you know, as a family of five for, you know, 18 plus years and not have stories that are individual to each one of us. So that's what I've been thinking about a lot this week. And the thing about this episode that I really love is Jenny. You know, I just keep saying how much I enjoy her character. Jenny, you know, she and Jamie go at it toe to toe, right? And, you know, she's not afraid to be like, you know, if dad was, you know, if father was alive, he would expect a visit this evening. And, you know, then Jamie says back, well, if he was alive, he'd want me to, you know, go over the ledgers, blah, blah, blah. Jenny, you know, raises her eyebrow at Claire and is like, have you ever run a home before? I mean, some people could just say Jenny is a pain in the ass. But the thing is that she's just needing to confront their stories a little bit. So those are my thoughts today, and I would love to hear your thoughts. Just so that you know, I am coming to you from my bookstore, which is Jenny's Paper and Ink Books in Grass Valley, California. It's where I am throughout my week doing my day in and day out work. You can also find me at Jenny Wells Reads on Instagram and Twitter, and of course here on Facebook. If you enjoy these videos and would like to learn about, you know about them at 10 a.m. on Saturday Pacific time, just go ahead and like Jenny Wells Reads and you will get notifications about that. You know, this is exciting. We are down to the last 5 weeks of Droughtlander. You guys, we only have to wait 5 more weeks for season 4. I'm so excited. And so I know you are too. I'd also love to hear your plans for a premiere party, which is what will be happening at my house. So thank you. Thank you for joining me today. Some of my deeper work is a course called Embracing Your Sacred Humanity. I am all about stories fictional stories just affecting us in a way that we can just be more alive. And I know that's what Outlander has given you and given me. So thanks again, and I will see you next week. Take care.